Sean was pretty complimentary of Gabe stepping in for Emmanuel. What did you think about the job that he did, and just the expectation that he might have to play a little bit more going forward here if Emmanuel misses time, how prepared he is for that role?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this. I don't think you and I have, but someone asked that in training camp and then earlier on in the season. For a young guy, Gabe's a really good pro in terms of how he takes care of his body, how he prepares. A guy that knows all of the positions. We have a lot of confidence in him, and it just seems like he's gotten better and better since he's been here. Maybe it's not as much playing time as you'd hope, unless you use 4 receivers or you mix them in there within the groups. But the things that we've asked him to do, Jay, he's gone out and he's done them at a high level. And I know that we as a coaching staff and the quarterback has confidence in Gabe.
And then with Feliciano, I know he's working his way back from injury. Sean said it was a bit of both in terms of guarding his health and snaps and things like that versus game plan. So I don't know just how much you can add to that, but where do you feel like he is both physically and being ready to take 80 or 70 snaps if needed, had the situation arose?
Yeah, I don't think I have really much to add other than, I have a lot of confidence in Jon, true pro, working his tail off. And I think something we revisit each week.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
You got it.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hi, Lena. Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I was curious, and I don't know how much of this you're going to want to share, but was it the plan to not have a running back run the football for an entire half, or how does that end up happening?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to, you can turn and hand it off and let them run into that line of scrimmage, which, they were, top 2, if not the best, under 80 yards. So again, you try to be creative and find ways to either tire a line out or get the ball on the perimeter and use RPOs or quarterback run game or quick drop back or perimeter screens. So, we were going to be aggressive. That was the mindset going into it. Got behind the chains a little bit there in the first half, had a couple really 3rd and longs, but the guys battled, did a good job. And, I think Josh made good decisions in terms of the running game, when to throw it and when to hand it off.
And Sean yesterday talked a lot about the halftime adjustments that both you and Leslie, made and that was obviously visible in the second half. For you specifically, what did the offense do a lot better in your mind in the second half than the first half?
Well, we stayed on track. Again, we had a few sacks there early on in the game, whether that be physical or mental, that put us behind the chains. So you're sitting there at 3rd and 17 against that group. We threw motor to get it back on track to get out of there. And then, we had another 3rd and long real there. So again, we didn't have many 3rd downs in terms of 3rd and longers in the second half. And the ones that we did, we went for it on 4th down and converted 2-2 on 4th down. Missed some on 3rd down, obviously, that we'd like to have back. But, give credit to the players. They battled. That's a good football team. It's a very good defense. And we just try to take it one play at a time. Unfortunately, we just came up a little short.
And then just one last one for me. When Josh got injured and, was dealing with that foot, from your play calling perspective, did you kind of adjust at all? Were there any limitations, or were you pretty much just calling it as you normally would?
Yeah, you have conversations down there in terms of, where he's at and what he's good, doing. Some of those he took off on his own. Look, he's a highly, highly competitive individual. Much respect to him and how he goes about his job. And certainly we've never put him in harm's way if something was, he couldn't do something. But, he was ready to go.
Thanks.
Yep, you got it.
Coach Dave, Mookie Arkansas for Sports Cincinnati. How you doing today?
Good, Mook. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Way to battle yesterday.
Yeah, thanks.
Physicality in the red zone, Coach. You haven't had a red zone scored by a running back since Week 10 versus the Jets. And before that, it's been since week 4. Now, Devin Singletary rookie year, he was more effective for you offensively, and I know Coach McDermott talked about being more physical in every aspect. Will you create more downhill in the run game to get things going than using QB runs?
Yeah, I mean, we do whatever we think we can do. If that'll help us, then that'll help us. Yesterday, the two that we missed down there in the red zone, I thought Josh made a really good decision on 3rd and 3. The defensive end dropped underneath and dropped from, being a defensive end up into the window of Gabe, and he was being smart. And then, he went to his go-to guy and Steph one-on-one. And those are the ones we kicked the field goals on. So, we revisit that each week.
Absolutely.
Hey, Coach. Sal here. Hope you can hear me okay.
Yep, in and out, but I got you.
Okay, thank you. Going back to throwing the ball so much, two-part question here. First, how much do you have to weigh the fact that when you're throwing like that, that's when they're going to pin their ears back, of course. They're not respecting the run game, and those sacks can happen. But then also conversely, how much it actually helped you run the ball in the second half because they were pinning their ears back and not really thinking about the run game.
Yeah, the first, again, the third series, the first series we were a quick drop back. Second series, we threw a couple screens, had a quarterback run. That was the second series. The third series, we used a lot of play action and haven't run it yet, and had games of 24, 23, 21, whatever it may be. Again, we're going to do what we think we need to do. And, we had a couple there that got us off track, and that's hard sometimes to get back on track. But I thought those guys competed their tails off.
And as far as Devin is concerned, and he ran the ball well, he hit the hole, looked like he was pretty explosive. How much did he show you too that, he could be using in multiple ways out of the backfield? We've seen him do that before, but he was effective in that regard as well.
Yeah, no, he's done a good job for us all year. He's consistent, dependable, knows what to do. He's worked hard at different areas of his game. So he's someone that we have confidence in.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Hey, Brian, Julianne Pelusi, Channel 2.
How you doing?
I'm curious. Good. How are you doing?
Good.
I'm curious each week when you're game planning and deciding how much you're going to run the ball, what are you looking for and what is it that's going to help you make your decision?
Well, I think you look at, the team you're playing and how good they are against the run or how good they are against the pass, whatever that may be. And then again, ultimately it comes down to you and what you think you can do or what we can do as a team. And again, it might not happen in the first series or the second series, but again, we try to do a good job of communicating throughout the game and, looking at matchups and looking at what we can, attack. And again, that's kind of how it's kind of how it felt last game.
And I'm just curious, in your coaching philosophy, to you, what is the most important aspect of having a strong running game as a team?
Well, the running game comes down to all 11 guys. And again, we're fortunate enough to have a quarterback that makes it even sometimes. But it's, number one, knowing who to block, getting a hat on those players and making sure we got most of them covered up. And then playing with good pad level and leverage and getting up underneath defenders and moving the line of scrimmage. That's really the run game.
Thanks, Brian. Nice to meet you.
You got it. You too.
Ryan Warrow, how you doing?
Hey, John. Good. How are you?
Good. As much faith as you have in Mitch Trubisky and your other quarterbacks, how difficult is it to replace a Josh Allen should that happen, based on what we saw from how the team rallied around him yesterday and what he means to this franchise?
Well, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals here, John. I appreciate the question. We'll see how it goes this week with Josh, and Mitch will do what he always does each week, is prepare. You're one play away from as a backup quarterback to get ready to go. But you all know how I feel about Josh and what he means to our football team and specifically to our offense.
And last thing about the running game, did you find something? I mean, did you find something by going wide? And is that something that maybe, seems to work better with the way things are constructed?
Yeah, I mean, the run game was, I'd say, a little bit unique yesterday against that front, and the talent that they had on that front and what they do, in the running game when you watch them. So we had some different things, available to us that we used yesterday that I thought helped us.
Fair enough. Thanks, Brian. Have a good one.
Thanks, Tom. You too.
That's all we have for today. Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys.